Mics, camera, action. Welcome back to Takaro Kids. Now, this week, Kiran and I are going to talk about something that was requested by some of our listeners. We're listening to you. We take your
quite a few of them, actually.
Yeah, we take your requests very, very seriously. And this is something we love talking about as well, which is sports. And right now, one of the biggest sporting events ever is taking place across 3 countries. We're talking about
The FIFA World Cup 2026. And yeah, it's happening across 3 countries. It's happening in the North American region. So it's the US, Canada, and Mexico. Most of the group stages are being played in Mexico right now. And it's been really, really exciting to start. There are multiple countries playing. And so it's an actual World Cup, unlike, the basketball or baseball in the US, which is called World Cup or World Series. Cricket at least has a few countries. The Baseball World Series has only all the American states. So anyway, this is an actual World Cup. It kicked off on June 11th. What's also very interesting is the reason we call it the world's biggest sporting event is because if you take last World Cup, when was the last World Cup, Debbie?
Well, this happens every 4 years. So it was in 2022. It happened in Qatar.
Excellent.
I'm sure our football fans who are listening already know this.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, why would you even have to say that? But the point that I was trying to make is that it actually had 5 billion people engaging, watching, following matches that year, which is crazy. 5 billion people. The world has about 8+ billion people. More than half of the world was actually watching this one event.
And that makes sense, right? I mean, this World Cup, we have 48 national teams that are competing across 104 matches across these 3 countries.
Yep.
Like you said, it's happening in Canada, in Mexico, and in the United States. When you have such a big event, such an important event that involves most of the world, there's bound to be some controversy around it. And this one too has its fair share, and maybe more than its fair share, mainly because of all the trouble the players and the teams have had to go through just to be able to play in the World Cup this time.
Yeah, there's a lot of political unrest around the world, and that actually has a direct bearing on an event like this, right? So let's start with, for example, Iran.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what's happening. Apparently, there's a truce agreement. Apparently, there isn't. Then again, there is one. Then there isn't. And there's fighting and, so many things that have been happening over the last few weeks. What is interesting is because of this unrest, the Iranian team was actually not allowed to participate in the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, Iran qualified for the World Cup. Their players all, worked really hard. They practiced. There were brutal qualifying matches across Asia. They earned their spot. They are playing. They're in Group G, where most of the matches are going to be in LA and Vancouver, which is in Canada. But there's been a lot of trouble. The United States government has said, you can only stay for a certain amount of time. After playing your match, you have to head back. You have to get out of the country. There's been a lot of back and forth in that sense. So it's not been very pleasant at all because, of course, there's an ongoing war pretty much between the 2 countries.
Yeah, and in fact, they were not given visas. So all the players were not given visas. In fact, even the Football Federation of Iran, the president of that federation was denied a visa, right? It's something that we should think about, how a lot of things in the world are connected. We keep talking about this. And so it's interesting to see, a World Cup where, for example, one country is not allowed to even enter and play.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Yes, there are conflicts. So is that right or wrong? We're not the ones to answer that, but it's worth sort of thinking about and getting your own perspective when you think about the politics around the world, when you think about, sports. And sports is a very high adrenaline event, activity, whatever it is. People get very passionate about sport, whatever the sport may be, from, cricket to football to basketball to Winter Olympics. People get really, really passionate about their country, their teams. And so it is something that we should pause and just think about, the repercussions that happen.
Yeah, and the repercussions are not just on the players and the delegation that they travel with, some of whom haven't been allowed, for example, this time from Iran.
Correct.
It also affects fans in a big, big way. Like people wait for 4 years for the World Cup to arrive.
Correct.
People save up money. A lot of you are fans. I'm sure you've been waiting to, for the World Cup to kick off. You are watching all the matches, even though it's happening late for India fans. But, in this case, a lot of fans from Iran have just not been allowed to go and watch the matches. They have to watch on the TV. They cannot go because their visas have just not been granted, or there's a blanket ban. In fact, quite a few countries have faced this. The travel bans to go to the United States specifically. We're talking about 19 countries, right? 19 countries have faced outright bans, and 20 more countries are facing partial restrictions. And this doesn't even count the individuals that have been stopped from attending. Like some people from Palestine, for example, have not been given visas or been allowed to travel for the World Cup. So it's very disappointing for a lot of people that they've not been able to engage. Some European football federations have called for some form of protest or boycott over this issue. Now, remember, the World Cup, being such a huge event, is also a great moneymaker for FIFA. It's a huge, huge commercial undertaking, which means they make so much money
100%.
out of ticket sales.
It is a business at the end of the day.
It is a business, and they've seen that, hotel bookings are not as high as they expected it to be because people just haven't been able to turn up.
So even if you think about broadcast rights, right, and this is what happens with all global sporting events, from Wimbledon in tennis to World Cup, every country has to buy the broadcast rights. In India, someone else in the US, each country, people need to buy the rights to show it on TV. So whatever the channel is, pays money for it. And in that, for example, in this World Cup, FIFA had a lot of problem, getting a few different countries to actually buy the broadcast rights. Again, FIFA is an organization built towards promoting football, but there's been a lot of politics attached to it this time. And so that kind of creates a lot of tension. Even in India, till the very last minute, we actually didn't have a broadcaster who was willing to spend on the broadcast rights, right? And I think it was just about a week and a half, 2 weeks before the start of the World Cup when the broadcast rights were given from an India perspective. So it is quite complicated when you bring in the business angle, the economic angle to sport as well.
Yeah.
And maybe we should do another episode about that, the economic angle and the business angle of sport. But yeah, going back, it's not just the teams, it's not just the fans. There are also other people involved. And the referee is one of the main guys in every single football match. One of them made big news again in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Before the World Cup even started, Omar Artan, he is a referee from Somalia. And he had been selected by FIFA to officiate matches at the World Cup, which is a huge, huge honor. And he's also, I think, the first ever Somali referee be given that. Yeah, he would have been the first ever Somali referee to be a part of the World Cup. But he arrived at the Miami airport and he had all of the documentation. We all know how much documentation we have to carry. But he was turned away at immigration. The US immigration officers basically said, hey, we have a few concerns about you and you cannot enter.
Can you imagine how disappointing that was?
That disappointment, the sadness, the frustration that you were going to be a part of the World Cup, one of the first people from your country, and you have been sent back. That's just so...
It's really, really sad because, this was a huge deal for the country itself. Somalia has been struggling over the years. They've had a lot of unrest as well. But, something like this is an honor for the whole country. So I'm sure that didn't, that's not gone down well at all. There have been many other individuals, like we mentioned, like there's Iraq's team photographer who's an accredited FIFA-approved member of the delegation. He was also denied entry into the country. Many cases of coaches, doctors, technical staff, all who've just been turned away in spite of having everything in place, just turned away and said, hey, you can't come into the country. So, that makes you think, right? What is FIFA's role in all of this? If FIFA is the organizer, if FIFA is the putting all of this together, saying we will give you the paperwork, we are inviting you to attend, then what is that relationship that they have with the host country, which is the United States in this case, that they cannot make, this happen, that their credentials don't really count?
There's been a lot of politics. Sports does get very political. And so, it is, after all, the biggest sporting event. So there was bound to be a lot of this, given where we are in the world and the state of the world today. But the football has also taken dominance, and it has been an amazing start to the entire tournament. There have been some really stunning draws, which no one expected to be draws. There have been some stunning victories. There have been some expected victories. For example, let's take Spain. Spain came in as the number 2
Yeah, I think
seeded,
that's the big match everyone is talking about.
Yeah, the number 2 ranked, country or team. They're the reigning European champions, and they drew against Cape Verde.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. Cape Verde has a 40-year-old goalkeeper.
Wow.
And who did not allow a single goal through, right?
That's it. I mean, this tiny, tiny, small island nation off the coast of West Africa, they're ranked 67th globally, taking on the number 2 in the world. And, it's a draw. Like, they just couldn't. And it is insane, right? Because Spain had 27 shots at goal. Cape Verde had 6. This guy, the goalkeeper, I hope I'm saying his name right, Vozinha, he didn't let a single goal through. That is something, huge, huge deal for that country. Then there's the other big match, which was, like we mentioned, Iran. They played against New Zealand. Again, this happened in LA. It was, of course, a lot of people have described it as a politically charged match because it is Iran, after all, the first Iranian team to play on US soil. That also ended in a 2-2 draw. Right? Of course, there was controversy there too, because there was Mohamed Mohebi, who headed home the equalizer. He celebrated in a strange way, which people had some issues with. It looked like, allegedly, he made firing a gun kind of hand gesture. Obviously, considering everything that's going on, that is absolutely not an okay thing to do. So there's going to be an investigation. FIFA has to investigate that further. He's, of course, denied it, saying, no, I was just celebrating. I didn't do anything of the sort. So all these stories are going to keep coming out.
Netherlands and Japan drew. That was a 2-2 draw. That was, again, super surprising. Everyone was really surprised. I mean, on the other side, there was an absolute decimation. Germany, Curaçao, where Germany scored 7 goals to 1. That was absolute decimation. And there was also a very surprising, Portugal match. Portugal played Congo, and they actually drew, which, again, was absolutely stunning for everyone. That Portugal drew against Congo. And, like we said, Spain drew to Cape Verde, 2 of the big football countries, and they drew against relatively small nations.
DRC or Congo almost didn't make it to the World Cup this time, by the way. They were also one of the countries that was kind of banned, and then that was lifted because, they said that there was some irregularities where the government was getting too involved with the Football Federation.
Yep.
So there was back and forth there. So they weren't going to be playing maybe, but that, thankfully that's happened. I'm glad for Congo. And a good start for them as well. Draw against Portugal. USA did well against Paraguay with a 4-1 win. So the hosts are doing really well. France versus Senegal, 3-1. Saudi Arabia, Uruguay, again a draw. Belgium versus Egypt, again a draw.
Lots of draws, but on the other side, you also look at the match like Qatar, who was last World Cup hosts. They lost 6-0 to current hosts, Canada. 6-0, and that was crazy. Mexico, the current host, won against South Korea. That was a very interesting match as well, 1-0. Switzerland won 4-1 against Bosnia. So it's been a really, really exciting sort of start to the group matches, which has been good because it's somehow taken away the whole political angle and gotten back to sport for what it is. The fact that it is something people come to watch, support their teams, enjoy the ups and downs, and then, just have fun with it.
Absolutely. But, some of you might be wondering why we went into all of those, all the political news right at the top of this episode. It's because we think it's important that you know about the background, and that's always been something we've tried to do. always be curious and wonder and ask questions about what's happening. Yes, it's easy to get lost in the fanfare and the color and the celebrations and the excitement of the sport, but you have to pay attention to what's happening in the background. Who are the people who are planning everything? What's moving the different chess pieces on the board? So that just gives you a larger perspective on the way things work in the world around you.
Yep. Always geopolitical plays a role in such large events, right? So I think it's always interesting to understand those backstories. Even the Super Bowl, which is considered the World Cup for American football, which happened a few months ago as well. Even over there was a lot of controversy because, it was Bad Bunny who was the main singer at that Super Bowl, and that caused a lot of
because he sang
back and
in
forth.
Portuguese, Spanish? What did he sing in?
Singing in Spanish for the, American NFL halftime. So yeah, every big sporting event has a lot of political background to it. And I think that's important to understand, that you cannot, separate the two to a large extent. Other than that, enjoy the games, and we're going to keep tuned in as well and see what happens. There are other exciting stories as we get towards the mid-July finals.
19 July.
Over here.
That's when it
19
ends.
July. Yes, that's the finals.
Great. So on that note, we will end this episode, but not before we give you your quiz question for today. The question we're asking this week is, when was the last time the United States hosted the FIFA World Cup? Was it in 2006? Was it in 1994? Was it in 1998? Or was it in 2022?
Okay then. Excellent question. Go do your research and come back with when was the last time US actually hosted the World Cup. We'll see if you get the right answer. As usual, if you know the answer, send it to us on our website, www.takarokids.com, or ask your parents to message us on Instagram with the answer. In fact, we're going to introduce a brand new way of quizzing, which is way more exciting. So hold on to your horses. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to start introducing you to this new quiz
format.
A new way to quiz. New quiz format. That's the word.
That's the word.
So we're going to introduce that to you, and that's going to be super, super exciting. There's going to be ladders. There's going to be bumper prizes. So keep your eyes out for that. And
you're not going to win a ladder. That's not one of the prizes. But yeah, there's going to be a leaderboard.
You definitely won't have to put up with Devi's humor.
Of course you do.
That's definitely not the win.
Of course you do.
But yeah.
Anyway, so that's coming up. So stay tuned, and it's time for us to say goodbye.
Bye-bye.